Hello, nerds! Thank you for joining me here on Nerd News Clips. This is the second channel. This is the place for all of the short-form content as well as the individual sections and just generally speaking smaller things. If you are into the longer form content, youtube.com/generallynerdy is the place to go see that. With that out of the way, let's get into this. And now we're down to the rumor mill. We have no confirmations. We have no refutations. We do have new sources. And this first new source is huge. So there have been Firefly rumors for a long time, and they've only ramped up since Disney bought Fox. And then a couple weeks ago, we covered a rumor that said that Fox is going to be rebooting Firefly. Actually, the rumor said it could either be a reboot or a continuation series, but it seemed that they were going to lean a little bit harder in the idea of a reboot, which made sense because they're probably going to cast younger actors. At least that was the way that I went with that rumor. So our news source has a number of things. We're going to break this down into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different rumors and before their probabilities. So the first bit is that there is word that the new series will be helmed by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Okay, this one we're gonna put it about 40% because I honestly, I don't believe that. This is a mediocre source. This is a source that has had a fair amount come true, but also has had a fair amount get shot down pretty horribly. So the Favreau-Filoni element, I don't think is going to be a thing. 40% likely that is going to be the case. And honestly, I think 40% is just a little bit of wishful thinking on my part, because that would be amazing. There's no better hands in the Disney camp right now to take care of a science fiction story such as Firefly. So 40% likelihood that Favreau and Filoni are going to have anything to do with this. The next piece is that it will officially be a part of the Star Wars universe, at least in a superficial manner. So now there is, you can look it up on YouTube, you can Google it, whatever. There is a fan theory that the Star Wars universe exists, not necessarily that they exist together in the same, but they're like parallel universes or something along those lines, because there are some things that almost could be references from Firefly into Star Wars, and so if you're looking really hard and you want to believe such things, you can almost make the case the other direction. But this is going to make that a little more overt in that we're going to see a Firefly class ship in season 3 of The Mandalorian, is what this rumor says. I think that would be a fun little Easter egg, and I think that would definitely get the fandom a-brewing, if you will. But I don't know that Kathleen Kennedy is going to be one that's going to allow such a thing to happen in her universe. That's how I'm going to phrase it. So we're putting this one at about 50% likelihood that we're going to get a superficial reference to Firefly in the Star Wars universe, or vice versa. Our next piece of this rumor that we're breaking down is that this is not going to be super saccharine and forced family friendly like a lot of the fans are worried about. They're going to go with the same level of adult humor that we got in the original show back in the 90s, or in the aughts, I believe. So yeah, it's not going to be like an iCarly kind of situation. It's not going to be something that's super just gag me with a spoon kind of to coin a phrase, kind of saccharine, gross, just I don't want to watch this because it's too golly gee, Dad kind of comedy. This is going to be the same level of comedy. And it makes sense because Firefly came out roughly 20 years ago. So what was allowable on network television 20 years ago and what Disney is trying to keep on their streaming platform these days is kind of one in the same. So like you can make a show that is geared towards a more mature audience and not have it be blue and just a bunch of dick and fart jokes. So yeah, I honestly think that when this happens, because it's not a matter of if at this point, it's a matter of when. When this happens, that is the most logical course of action for them to take. So we're giving this one about 70% likelihood. And then we're moving right along. We have the Joss Whedon involvement. This rumor goes on to say that Joss Whedon will not not be involved with this reboot. That was called into question with the previous rumor, and it seems to make sense that he won't be involved because of everything that's been going around Joss Whedon the last few years. So yeah, 80% likelihood that at least to start, Joss will not be involved in this series. Now, is that to say that he will not ever be involved with this reboot or refresh or whatever? No, that's not to say that definitively, because there is still definitely a door for redemption, assuming that we want to be good human beings. Everyone deserves some redemption, right? So if Joss Whedon does get his redemption, then absolutely one day he will be involved with this series. So 80% likely that he won't be until that happens, though. And then our next piece of this rumor is kind of disheartening, but also kind of great. And it's that they're not going to be counting the Serenity movie as canon, which again is kind of crap because that was the conclusion of the story, right? So maybe they're going to fill in the gaps. Maybe they're going to pick up where the original series ended and then leave off where the Serenity movie begins. That would make sense, and then that kind of means that this is accurate, kind of, but that's not exactly what this rumor says. This rumor very explicitly says that they are not going to be counting that movie as canon at all because of the death of Book and the death of Wash. Those two characters are too big for this to not be included with a reboot or a revisit to this universe. So we're going to give that one about 60% likely, because I think that would be a good well to mine if they go in that direction. But I think the more likely possibility is that it's going to be, like I said, filling in the gaps between the end of the series and the beginning of the movie. So that makes a little bit more sense to me. What do you think? And then we have, that transitions us kind of well into the last bit of this, and that is that the original cast is going to be reprising their roles, whereas again, previously when we talked about rumors around this, it was unknown if it was going to be a reboot or a continuation. So if it's a reboot, there's no need for the original cast. If it's a continuation, then you better be getting the original cast. So if you take into consideration that they might be, at the very least, moving the storyline into a different section, then it makes sense that they would be going for the original cast. And that is, of all the possible scenarios for this to do well, that is the best possible scenario for this to do well. I do also assume that if this is the case, that they're only going to be doing this as a kind of limited series, in that it might get maybe only one season, which is that going to be enough if they do this at all? Because the vast majority of the fandom doesn't even want Disney to touch it. They just want Disney to maybe re-release it in a higher resolution format. But do they want a reboot of this series? Not really. Approximately 70% of fans who were polled just want the original to be left alone because it's perfect in and of itself. And you get the bookend with the movie that kind of wraps everything up, not necessarily in a tidy little bow, but it wraps it up fairly well-ish. So yeah, that's what we've got for Firefly. We do have one other news source, and that is Halo Infinite. This is another gaming Halo rumor, and that is another potential leak for Battle Royale mode. This one, if you look at the image that was quote-unquote leaked, it's not exactly what the rumor says it is, because it's a new mode. Sure, that is without question, but it's a new mode that has some elements that borrow from Battle Royale style gameplay. It's not that it is a Battle Royale in and of itself. And we saw that with attrition already. We saw the closing, the circle of pain, I guess. We saw that in attrition when that was the game mode a few events back, that they're going to be borrowing from the ideas of other big free-to-play games, and most other big free-to-play games are Battle Royale games. So they're going to use elements from that, sure, but we're putting this one down 30% likelihood, which is approximately where it was last time we talked about the potential for a Battle Royale mode in Halo Infinite. I don't think it's going to happen. This does kind of suggest such a thing, but this more suggests a new game mode that borrows some Battle Royale ideas. So again, 30% likelihood. Now let's move into brand new rumors. We have some brand new Obi-Wan rumors, and all of our rumors today are Star Wars rumors. So if you don't want to hear about Star Wars rumors, thank you for watching or listening or whatever. But we do have Obi-Wan to talk about first. This new rumor has kind of been shot down, but in a not quite so believable way. This new rumor is that the reason for those reshoots, the reason they threw out the scripts about a year and a half, was it 2 years ago now? Because we were supposed to get Obi-Wan a while ago, but they threw out everything that they had and they started fresh with new scripts. And the reason for that, according to this rumor, is because Darth Maul was included in that original series idea, as well as a kind of dynamic that would echo what we got in The Mandalorian. With Mandalorian, Din Djarin, and Grogu, we're going to get that kind of character dynamic between Obi-Wan and a young Luke Skywalker, with Darth Maul as the villain. And so it was seen as concerning by the people who were making it. That concern found its way up to Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen said, let's axe it and do something else. And then Favreau and Filoni said, let's go bigger. Let's go bigger, bigger, bigger. And now we have Darth Vader as the villain. We have a much more universal involved storyline. So there's going to be a lot more in the universe, it sounds like. And that's kind of all, it all ties in with this idea that originally the scope was too small and resembled too closely The Mandalorian. So the likelihood that this is true, I'm going to give it a 50%. And that's largely because that we did get a producer come out and say, that's not the way I remember it. And it's also a new source, so I'm waiting to see their validity, so I can't give them too much weight. But yeah, the 50% likely that was the reason for the reshoots. Our next Star Wars rumor is a more meta version of a Star Wars rumor, and that is that there's going to be a new movie in the works, brought to you by the likes of Damon Lindelof. If you don't remember that name, or you heard that name but you don't know why, it's because this is the guy that gave us the HBO Watchmen series that I really didn't like. And for reasons we've already discussed, it has nothing to do with necessarily the subject matter, just what they did to one of my favorite characters. Anyway, so this rumor says that Damon Lindelof is going to be directing his very own Star Wars movie. No reason to believe one way or the other, aside from the fact that Lindelof would be a director that Kennedy and company would want to bring into the fold, because he will definitely be falling in line with the company motto, and that is social justice is the way we're going. So it makes a little bit of sense, but again, new source, 50% likelihood that this is going to happen. And we've seen these things happen and then fall through before they officially get announced. So take with that a grain of salt. Our next rumor has to do with Mandalorian. This is actually kind of two different rumors. Again, same source, same rumor though. And the first half of this is that season 3 of Mandalorian is going to take place very heavily, or is going to feature rather very heavily, the caves of Mandalore. And yeah, of course it is, because that was the setup. So this is not really a rumor. This is just somebody rumor mongering saying, oh, I've got news that everybody already knows. So 90%, I would be very surprised if this didn't happen, that we saw the Caves of Mandalore, because, you know, we have Din trying to become the Mandalorian. Anyway, and then the other half of this rumor is that as part of that, we're going to be seeing the Mythosaur. The Mythosaur is going to awaken, and it is going to be a battle between Din Djarin and the Mythosaur. So this one I'm going to give about 70%, because I think Filoni and Favreau are going to do the fan servicey thing, and they're going to bring in something as epic as the Mythosaur. Yeah, I think there's a pretty safe bet for that. But this is not based on previous knowledge like the other half of this rumor is. So yeah, definitely gonna give it a little bit more leeway to not be accurate at 70%. Our next rumor comes from a different Star Wars series, Andor, which we still technically do not have a release date for, now is rumored to be coming out in August. There is a gap in the Disney Plus release schedule round about that time. There are a number of other gaps as well, so it could come sooner, it could come later, but this is a pretty safe gap because this is going to be ramping into the holiday season, which is going to be very Star Wars heavy, and a very Disney heavy, Disney Marvel Star Wars. Wow, they are just printing money these days. So likelihood that we're going to be seeing Andor this year, I think is pretty strong. With that window there, 70% likelihood that we are going to be seeing Andor in August of this year. Once again, this has been just a brief segment from the larger episode that has been posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go over there for the long form content or just subscribe here if you want it in bite-sized chunks. Thank you very much for joining me, nerds. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here